everybody, what is up? So today we're talking about X-Men number 9. It's a comic book review, and remember, for the foreseeable future, there's not going to be any new X-Men or any other comic books coming out at comic book stores for at least a month, maybe longer, according to Diamond, the distributor. We just have to kind of space things out until then. Let's make a meal out of this final week of X-Men comics. So with X-Men number 9, spoilers for that ahead. If you've read it, you realize this is a very brood-heavy issue. Clearly, it's a follow-up from issue 8. And it's interesting, this might be, I think, in this volume of X-Men, like the first time that basically one issue was to be continued and actually was followed up in the next issue. Because it seems like up to this point, like every single issue has basically been, it's had like foreshadowing and subplots and like, to be continued moments, but every single issue, it's like you would think at the end, this is going to be to be continued the very next issue, but no, they push it. Hickman is like doing all this sort of story seeding and foreshadowing, which is interesting, but kind of a downer that we won't have at least again for a month, maybe longer. We won't have any sort of immediate follow up to these stories. So the time to guess about what you think is going to happen coming up is now. But with this new issue of X-Men, it's great because, I've said it before, I really love it when the art is being done by the regular creative team of Leinil Francis Yu. I love him doing art for X-Men, and his issue here is, again, awesome. He does a great job drawing all the characters, great job drawing these nasty alien brood creatures. But what about the story? What I like about this current volume of X-Men is that like Hickman is not afraid to draw from sources that he did not create. Sometimes new writers come onto an existing title and they don't want to say anything, or they don't want to mention like characters who were created by other writers who then you just never see them again. So like examples of that in this issue, it's like if I was the writer of X-Men, you probably would not see Brew, the good guy Brood, the alien Brood with glasses. That's how you know he's a good guy, the nerd Brood. If I was writing X-Men, you would not see that guy showing up anytime soon. But Hickman, kind of makes him the central character in this issue. And it's like this, it's really clever. And then there's other stuff, Hickman's also, he's respectful of when other writers and other titles at Marvel like get rid of characters that he might have been able to use. Like for example, I didn't really realize this until I was reading the text page in this issue, that with the Brood, I understand it's like a hive mind evil alien race, but I didn't get that there was like a hierarchy of like we have the queen and then we have like this warrior caste above these separate queens that run separate hives, and then we have above that like the Brood Empress, which is apparently a character going back to the 90s. There was a John Ostrander written X-Men versus Brood short 2-issue miniseries. And that, featured the first appearance of the Brood Empress, who has been used in other titles since then. But if you didn't realize this, the Brood Empress was killed in a Punisher annual last year, the end of 2019. So that was weird that happened in a Punisher comic of all places. But it's nice that like Hickman is, he stays with that continuity. It's like, okay, we got rid of the Brood Empress. Well, what's something interesting we can do? And that's kind of been these last couple of issues of X-Men is like, what is going to be the new status quo for the Brood? And apparently, he goes back and he has this flashback early in this issue 9, where we're looking at the Kree, the Supreme Intelligence Supremor, as well as the Accuser. I'm not sure if it's Ronan here or an older version of a Kree with that same title of being an Accuser. But anyway, the Kree have figured out like thousands of years ago, millennia ago, they were like, okay, here's this nasty alien race that is, well, it's the Brood, and also apparently the Brood is like extra dimensional or extra universal. It's like it doesn't come from this existing Marvel universe. It's like from outside the normal universe, the normal 616 universe. So I guess kind of like I don't, kind of like Galactus in that way. I'm not sure. But anyway, they're like, this is this extra galactic or extra universal threat, this brood, and we've come up with a weapon. Like we figured out basically they control each other. Like the queens control the hive through pheromones. So we can create like a weapon, this sort of pheromone egg that, once it hatches, then it's like, in their words, introducing a bit of patriarchy into this matriarchal species. Whereas, instead of having a brood queen or several brood queens that are ruled by an overarching brood empress, the pheromones in this egg, this king egg, will make it so that the brood king can run all the brood, can be in control of all of them. So it's kind of like this bio weapon that then they can use to control the brood, or at least point them as a weapon in the right direction. So it's actually even more similar. Like I've already made in a previous review, like for X-Men 8, when I was talking about the history of the brood as comic creations. And I think of them as like, Chris Claremont went to see the movie Alien with Sigourney Weaver. It was like, we should do something like that. But it's even more like that. Like if you can compare it to like Alien Covenant and the Prometheus movies, where like those xenomorphs, those aliens, were pretty much defined as bioweapons. So now the brood are similar to that too. Same follow-up as an alien, where it's like now the brood are similar to aliens, to the xenomorphs. They're these bioweapons that we're going to point at a competing galactic population that we want to destroy. That's the Kree's plan. And Supreme, or the Supreme Intelligence, again in this flashback thousands of years ago, is like, this is great. We should definitely do this, guys. This is a long con. And my favorite thing in the world is a long con. So what would be like the races they would try to destroy with the brood egg? Well, you got all the classics. You got the they're not fans of the Shi'ar. They're not fans of the Skrulls. They're not fans of, what is it, the Sidari, which was, coincidentally enough, they showed up in, I'm not going to talk a lot about giant-sized Nightcrawler in this video, but I think that it's interesting the Sidari are mentioned in this new issue of X-Men, and they also appear, so slight spoilers for giant-sized Nightcrawler, they're in that issue too. So that's kind of interesting. But anyway, that's the long con. But the whole time I'm reading the issue, and maybe while you're reading the issue too, I'm thinking like, oh, this king egg, it hatches, and there's going to be like a boy brood in there that will be the ruler. But not quite. It was really more like, again, big spoilers for this issue. It's more like this sort of Cadbury cream egg, where it's just whoever eats the egg is now the brood king. It's like they ingest all the pheromones, and then they're in charge. They rule all the brood after that point. So I think that's a really, it's kind of working with the pieces that were already in place, whether it's like, the galactic conflict between these warring alien races, the Kree, the Shi'ar, the Skrulls, the brood. But also it's really making good use out of what to me was like such a strange character, not a bad character, but like a strange addition to the X-Men, with Brew, this sort of, like friendly brood character. So, he's, if you couldn't figure it out, he's the one. Brew eats the egg, so now Brew is the brood king. The nerd becomes the Chad. Whenever Hickman is writing Roberto da Costa, Sunspot, I think he has a lot of fun with it. Like that character's voice, as Hickman expresses it, this sort of like spoiled little rich kid. He's kind of always bored by everything, because it's just like, I could just buy my way out of this problem sort of thing. He's fun, and he's kind of a jerk to the Kree accuser in this issue, same as last issue. But also we've got Cannonball in here too. They're roomies now, and Cannonball's got this great line. You got to imagine it in that southern accent, what that Kentucky accent he's got, where he says bang bang dummies, but it's going to come out more like bang bang dummies. So that's a lot of fun. The way he's writing those New Mutants characters, the action in this issue, like the fight between the X-Men in the brood before they realize that someone can just eat the egg, is really entertaining. And it's similar. I got like a panel here that I redrew of Cyclops and the brood taken from this issue. Yeah, very cool. And yeah, So that's basically, where we're set up. I mean, what's coming up next? I think we're going right into a crossover event, Empire with a Y. So I'm looking forward to it, but I don't want to get like too hyped up because it's going to be a month or more before we actually see these issues in the shops. Again, this delay is crazy. So that's basically it for my review of X-Men. I'll also mention, I'm sorry I could not go live with this video. I think YouTube's having some issues with converting like live videos to then like the permanent videos that end up in people's subscription feeds. So I'm facing like this weird sort of 24-hour delay where after I go live, like none of my subscribers see my videos for a day. So I'm figuring I'm just going to upload this pre-recorded. Once YouTube gets things back on track with live immediately, caching and going into permanent videos, then I'll go back to doing live first. But it was like driving me nuts that I couldn't see, or like people couldn't see my videos immediately, like in their subscription feeds. And so that was kind of annoying. But until then, I'll just do these pre-recorded videos, still get, the same great reviews, same great art, but still, not that heavy delay that I was facing before. So that's it for this video, this review. Thanks everyone for joining me and watching the video. Remember, if you like it, please do smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell for notifications, tell all your friends about it. If you're an artist yourself, keep drawing.